Hi everyone, welcome to afternoon tea with Pebble Geo this week. It's come around very quickly since last week. This week we're going to be talking about merging lab data, which I'm really keen to listen in on actually while Ben's talking about it, because it's something that we've been offering. How long have we been doing lab data merge?
From quite early on, to be honest, although the merging functions are probably a couple of years old, to be honest, so it was a fairly early version of Pebble Geo.
Yeah, but it's still another one of those elements of Pebble Geo where some people will say it would be good if, and we say, well, actually, we do. It's part of the plus package of Pebble Geo, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think, did you just want to bring it up on the screen and talk people through it? And then, as usual, I'll keep an eye on the chat if there's any questions or anything about merging lab data or Pebble Geo in general. Just jump in and ask. We are live on LinkedIn. We also should be live on YouTube as well. I'm going to keep an eye on both of those. So if you've got any questions about anything at all to do with Pebble Geo, just jump in. Otherwise, Ben, I'll let you crack on with merging lab data.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. I'll just say, when I logged into the streaming platform, I had a little alert on the LinkedIn channel. So hopefully that's streaming. If it's not,
it is currently streaming. I've got it. I
excellent.
can see it on my phone, and it is.
Yeah.
So I'll keep an eye on that and just.
I'm going to put my hand up to this because I think after I'd posted the original thing a couple of days ago, I then changed the image and it jammed everything up. So user error. Anyway, anyway, we're all good. So I will share the old screen. So for anyone who doesn't know me, so I'm Ben Wood. I'm the MD of Pebble Geo. I do a bit of everything on Pebble Geo, from the software development through to help desk, etc., etc. And really, these sessions are just to show you, I say 10 to 15 minutes, just to show you one aspect of what Pebble Geo does, because as Tracy said, sometimes you might be using Pebble Geo and you might not be fully aware of some of the things it can do. So it's just quite useful to see those from, us displaying, sort of demonstrating as a team. We're close to the software, we know the things it does, and it will just help you to become familiar with all these little tiny things that it can do. I say tiny things, they're also very powerful things. So lab data. So the first thing I'm going to say is Tracy mentioned that the merging of lab data is a Pebble Geo Plus level feature. So the plus level of Pebble Geo is an enhanced license level compared to what we call the standard. So the standard version just does your logs and sections and so on. So you can input your data, print logs and sections. When we get into the AGS data side of things and the data merging side of things, some of that's in plus. The first thing I'm going to show you is what is in standard. So what everybody can do with any license level. If I drag an AGS file into, this is the desktop app, it will work the same in the web app in this sense. So you can drag and drop an AGS file in with standard or a plus level license, and you can get that data back out. So if you've got lab data from an AGS file, go to your export convert menu and go to the CSV option. So you won't be able to re-export as AGS. Why would you want to anyway if you've already got it as AGS? But this just gives you an option to output any of the lab tests. So I like to pick on liquid limit for some reason. So if I go LLPL group, I can just click through and save into a folder. I can do any of the data groups like this from the AGS file. And here's then it will generate a CSV file of that liquid limit test group. So if you've got that coming from the lab tests, whichever version you're on, whether you're on standard or plus, you can do this and you can pull that data out. But that's not really merging. We want to talk today about merging data. So if you have been working into the Pebble Geo Excel template, so the Blue Peter style, I've got one here that I've pre-prepared. So I've got an Excel file and an AGS file. We'll go through what that means in a moment. So if I drag the Excel file in, this will be the standard Pebble Geo borehole logging template that you're hopefully familiar with if you've been using Pebble Geo at all. If you're not, I'll just open that up, just show you how that looks. This is just a standard sort of template we use. Here I'm working with a real data set. So this is the DLR Woolwich extension. So it's an AGS file I've downloaded from the BGS Open Data Portal. And this is where you put in things like your field geological descriptions, your sample information, things like water strike, but then your in-situ tests as well. So the in-situ tests here are blue tabs, that out of the way. So I've got, for example, in this data set, I've got no photoionization, but I've got a load of SPTs. I've got surprisingly few hand shear vanes in there, no pocket penetrometers. So they're the in-situ ones that you do within Pebble Geo itself. So then let's say you send off some samples to the lab and you're going to get various things back. If you ask the lab for an AGS file, you can drag and drop that into Pebble Geo. So here we've got an AGS file. If I open that up, if you're not familiar with AGS, it's a kind of CSV-like format. In Pebble Geo world, we try to make it so you don't really have to worry about this format particularly. So it's a CSV format, but there's a few quirks to it. I'll just scroll through. I don't know, maybe we can find something like a test group. So let's say, so we've got some monitoring data here, for example. So if it's stuff that comes from the lab, that will all just be in that file. You don't need to worry about it. Drag and drop that. So you know I've already got my boreholes loaded from the Excel file. I'm just going to drag and drop a second file on top. When you do that, it will compare the two files. And if the files have the same project ID, it will prompt you to merge the two data sets. Obviously, if the project ID is different, Pebble Geo is going to assume that they're completely different projects. So it won't try to merge. So here I've got this little prompt. It's saying, are you trying to merge or is it a fresh import? So if I click no there, that will just clear down the existing Excel data and then load the AGS data. But if I click yes, it will then prompt me to choose which data groups I want to import. So these are the data groups that exist in the AGS file that aren't in the existing data set that came from the Excel file. If that makes sense. So typically, these would be your lab tests. So you can see here we've got some, for example, triaxial tests, we've got liquid limit, etc., so on and so forth. I can filter these, so I could switch that off and I could say I only want to bring my grain size tables in, or I could just bring everything in. So if I click continue, I'm going to bring that in. What that's then going to do, it will have a bit of a validator behind it. So it's going to try and compare what it finds in your Excel data set with what's coming from the AGS data set. Obviously, as we know, sometimes things can go awry, or maybe the lab's working to a slightly different version of AGS. Pebble Geo will try to auto-fix all of that stuff. So it'll be auto-fixing things like decimal places, 2 decimal place versus 3 decimal place, things like that. It will also compare your sample IDs and things. So if there are sample IDs that don't match, they will get flagged in this report to give you a chance to go into the file and fix it, or to ask the lab to fix it, which is probably a better way of doing it. I'm just going to click through and assume all those auto fixes are fine. And then you won't see anything beyond that. So I might have a sneeze coming. So the data will look the same in Pebble Geo. But what we can do then is once that's merged, so we've effectively merged this Excel file with this AGS file, I'm going to pull that back out as a combined AGS file. So if I go back to the export convert, and this is where we're also at a Pebble Geo Plus level license, so you can only export AGS from Pebble Geo Plus. If I go to the AGS function, this is just like exporting an AGS file from your Excel data set. You have to put a producer and a receiver in, so you and then the client, whoever's receiving. Just type some values in there. Continue with export. Now, it will then, as it does with any AGS export, it will also second validate that data and check that it's going to create a valid AGS file. You can see here I've got some data errors here. I've got incorrect units, for example. So these are the column unit types and things like that. Most of the time, Pebble Geo will auto-fix all of that for you. Obviously, what I've used here is a real-life data set, so we can see some of the issues you kind of get with real-life data. Obviously, not my data set. I don't exactly know what these errors are, but I can just go export and auto-fix. Then it will prompt me to save that file. So if I just call that merge DLR, it will then prompt me to pull that in. So I may as well pull that back into Pebble Geo. And we can see over here it's created a third file, which is our merged AGS file. So effectively, we've used Pebble Geo to merge basically the field geological descriptions and the in-situ tests with the lab tests from the AGS file to come up with a combined AGS file. So that just gives you that power from the Pebble Geo user perspective, that you can be the one who can merge all the stuff that you've observed and interpreted, so like the in-situ stuff, with anything coming from the lab. And that's essentially it. I don't know, Tracy, if we've got any questions popped up at that point.
No, it's pretty quiet on the comments on LinkedIn. I'll just jump onto the YouTube and just see if anything has come through on there. Just bear with me 1 second.
While you're doing that, Tracy, I'll just run through that sequence again just to make it clear. So I'm going to drag this Excel file in, the one I've logged. So I've been logging my trial bits and boreholes, done my in-situ test on my SPTs. That's all fine. Well, next day, lab emails, here's the AGS file for your lab test, drag and drop. Click yes, choose which lab tests you want. I'll assume all of them. It will flag any things it's going to auto-fix, and there it is, merged. And then just back out to AGS. There's no point going back out to Excel at this point because the Pebble Geo templates don't have worksheets for the lab test. So that's completely off to the side topic that we leave to the labs, and then we just assume that they're going to work with an AGS. So there we go. So if there's no questions, I will stop sharing.
Yeah, I can't. Oh, hold on. Hold on. No, I can't see any questions. It looks like someone has put a number in a comment, but I can't see a question or anything there. So it might be that it's just a pocket dial or something. We'll wait and see if they say any more. If not, we'll come back to them separately and see if they can
So as always, just if you need anything, just email us hello@pebblego.com. And there we go. So yeah, thanks for joining another little cheeky afternoon tea on a Friday afternoon.
Very bold of you to use real data there. Yeah.
Has something come in?
No, like I said, it just looks like I can't see an actual question. Tom. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I can see it now. It's come up. So quick question. How many samples do you think Pebble could handle? I'm considering merging annual geotech and I guess that's environmental monitoring programs.
Yeah, interesting. So so there's a group in the AGS schema called ERES, which can get extremely large. I would say, so we stress test Pebble Geo with real data sets, basically, Tom. So there's a load of stuff lurking on the BGS website, like hundreds of AGS files that we've over the years just pulled down, and I've been using them for years to test various software. Some of them are huge. So it will be things like, major road schemes, dueling schemes, things like that. We've never run into a limit, to be honest, on Pebble Geo. I mean, it will rely a little bit on the power of your laptop or PC. But I think in the grand scheme of things, in practice, you're not going to hit any particular limits. Because as you can see, when you drag the AGS file in, even though it's got all that data in, it doesn't then present it anywhere within the user interface. So it's not going to try and display anything with that. So it's just sitting in the background. So yeah, I don't think you'd have any issues particularly. The place where you might get issues is on the Pebble Geo Excel side of things, because that's obviously a pre-formatted template and it only has so many rows for each data group. So if you had, I'm just going to say, if you took 20,000 samples from a project, then it would run into a problem there because the Excel workbook wouldn't have space for 20,000 samples. That's one of the scenarios where we say just get in touch with us and we'll help you figure out how to deal with that, whether that's splitting it across multiple Excel workbooks. But if you were just purely in AGS world, so if you had just an AGS file from the lab, drag and drop, I don't think you're ever going to, say touch wood, shouldn't say these things live, should I don't think you'll ever reach a limit. I've never seen a data set that's ever caused Pebble Geo to run out of space and fall over. So
someone will see that as a challenge.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, there's a couple of, I suppose, spicy data sets that'd be quite good to get hold of, say the HS2 data set, for example, but that doesn't seem to be on the BGS portal. So yeah, the biggest ones we've come up is things like Lower Thames Crossing, stuff like that, and A14 road scheme, A96 dueling, stuff like that. And it's never struggled, to be honest. So I think you should be okay.
Smashing. I can't see any more questions there, Ben. I just had a look at YouTube as well, and there's no questions on there at the moment. We've got a few people watching on there though, so that's good. Obviously, this will sit there as a post, so people can go back over it But if anyone wants a demo or a one-to-one or anything on any of the merging, drop us an email, hello@pebblegeo.com, and we will help.
Yep. Thanks, Tracy. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Lovely. Thank
you. See you next time.
Bye.